Well, Mr. Chair, we're ready.
All right, let us begin. Would you care to call the roll? Oh wait, call to order.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, call it to order. Get the,
Call to order?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I need a little coaching up here. All right, let us gather together. Okay, invocation. Okay. Dear Lord, today we gather to guide the administration of the Waccamaw RTA. Please join us in our efforts to be thoughtful. Please support us in our efforts to support others. Please guide us to guide others. Through your grace, the RTA has come many miles since its inception. Now with Brian, we have many more miles to go. So hook up with Brian, and along the way, please remain with us. In the name of our Lord.
Amen. And let's add Dr. Twig in there.
And Dr. Twig, that's also, yes, let's have a moment of thought for Dr. Twig's son, 40 years old, who passed away a couple of days ago. Okay. Maybe he will come today, we don't know. Okay. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I still want to know if they say that in the schools. I don't think the kids that young anymore.
Most
How about
buses
college?
don't because it,
they do it in college?
Give a card to pass around for
especially
Dr.
like
Twig.
in college.
Well, in New Jersey they do because no one tells them what to do in Jersey.
Yeah, it's because they're too busy out on
People
the
are
beach.
offended by it, so they don't do it in schools.
That's right, it's Derek.
Catherine D'Angelo,
Here,
Sid Blackwelder,
Here.
Darryl Wyckoff,
Here.
Debbie Gasquey, Wilbur James, Lily Jean Johnson, here, Marvin Keene, Joseph Lazara,
Here.
Rob Sheehan,
Here.
Bernard Silverman,
Here.
Ivory Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Sid, you're all down there by yourself.
Well, that's usually what happens with me.
I did.
Well, your buddy's not coming
Yeah, it's
tonight.
because you don't have your pal Marvin.
Yeah.
All right. I don't see anybody here who is not a member of the Board of Administration,
It's just not
so
exciting enough anymore.
we can fail to acknowledge visitors.
Want to do something.
Do you have any employee recognition?
I do. I would like to point everybody's attention to the board here. This is the video of the accident with 1504, the new bus. I just wanted to show you what our drivers put up with. It's kind of it also show you the 6 angles we have on these buses. I would pay particular attention to this one down here in the left-hand corner.
What route is
This is Route 15 South.
this?
You can see we're in the left-hand lane.
Yeah.
Here she comes. Never
Oh my
stopped.
God.
What?
Is that the one that, is that the bus that was hit? Or is that the second bus?
That's the new bus.
The new bus, all right.
That's the only bus that was hit, though, not a different bus.
That's the one you're gonna put the sign on, or you didn't put
It's
the
already
sign
there.
We did
yeah.
put the sign on.
Oh, I thought it was a man, it's a woman.
But you could clearly see this person was distracted driving.
Is she coming out of the shopping center?
She's
no,
coming off
she's
of
on-
Campus Drive.
Oh, yeah, I see.
This is
Yeah, I see where she is now.
Can you stop it for a second? What are we looking at? I can't tell.
This is a camera that's on the back of the bus facing forward.
I'm looking at the side of the bus.
Or we're looking at the side of the
Right
bus.
side of the bus, okay, see it
Yeah.
now.
Just down by that Italian restaurant there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just past there.
Sparrow Parkway.
yeah.
So he moves over to
Where is
the.
15?
South.
This is market comment.
He goes, just
Oh,
goes
So
past
he's moving over,
the,
he's used a signal. You can hear it.
They think
Oh,
that you're gonna stop
There's
for
no
that.
sign at
Is there
all
a merge sign
For
there?
him coming out of there.
There's a
Yeah,
merge?
But I mean, the point is she had, when that driver had plenty of room
Oh,
to
I
go into
know.
the right lane
I
and just
know.
kept on getting it.
Yeah,
So-
she kept on across the road.
So she was doing something else. She wasn't paying attention to driving.
Did you notice that down here, a merge sign means that these people just pull off, and you have to stop for them? Because as you go over the bridge to go into Little River from North Myrtle Beach, they come up off of Sea Mountain Highway,
Oh, yeah.
and they never stop.
Yeah.
They never merge, they just go full blast.
I noticed that when I was
So the-
with you on Monday, that
Yeah.
they were just, you had to
You have to
wait.
be careful.
Yeah.
So the point is you can be as safe a driver as 100% safe in your operation, and this kind of stuff still happens. And this is the vast majority of our accidents, people hitting us. We have had a few preventables this summer, but they've been small things.
Did they call the police on this?
I think so. Yeah, we did.
Go back to that 6 shot, or 6 pictures, and see what we're looking at. See what we're able to see. We have 6 cameras on the bus?
Yeah, so there's one facing, that one's a little messed up. There's one facing forward in the, out the windshield. There's one facing inside, looking at the passengers.
Uh-huh.
There's the one that we've been looking at outside. There's one that now covers the rear door. This one actually, there's a display on the front for the driver. When that door is open, that clicks on, so he can see what's going on the back door. And that's the angle, that he sees.
Did we send this
And
to
then
the
there's one on the
insurance?
driver.
Or she?
And then there's one on
He
the.
or she?
He or
There
she.
she is,
Yeah,
right
front
there,
door.
right
And then there's
there,
one on the
on
front
the
door.
right. There's, did you send this to the insurance company?
Not yet,
No.
but we will.
Well, yeah.
How long
I mean, State Farm is who we're dealing with, and
How long do we retain, Phil? Say there's no accident, how long do we normally retain?
that varies. It's about a week.
Okay.
But we are working on an automated system where we're downloading video from buses every day when they're being washed. We're gonna do a wireless download, and so we'll keep it for longer.
Well, I meant not just an accident, obviously gonna keep one, you know that. You know, if you have a
Yeah, this one's been
police
spliced.
type incident inside the bus, I mean, you don't know if it's gonna be 2 weeks before they, I'm glad you're.
Well, all incidents, we pull the film automatically, whether anything comes out.
Well, that's great, that's great stuff to have it, evidence.
There's no way for us to be accused of doctoring film either, right?
Well, I haven't figured out how to
Good.
doctor it, but I don't know. I mean, it's.
I can help you with that.
All right, cool. So we have resources for that. But,
Well, you know
so
what?
no, I just really,
It's amazing, it's
yeah.
amazing, isn't it?
yeah, to have this technology, and I stress to the drivers, it's as much there for your protection as it is to find you guys doing what you're not supposed to be doing. So, but I thought, appreciate what they do out there, trying to navigate with a $435,000 piece of equipment and passengers, and that's even bigger liability.
For so little money.
And so it's not the easiest job.
This is just a technology question, maybe for Sid more than anybody else. I've been reading about other busing companies that are either trying to ramp up or going under, Toledo being the latest one that seems to really be fighting the dust and the TARDA having a tremendous problem there. One of the things they were talking about is putting Wi-Fi on the buses for longer routes, like a route to Georgetown or even the number 12 route, which is a pretty long route. Once we've got GPS, is it hard for us to then go the next step and put Wi-Fi on some of those, and is it expensive
It's expensive for the data package.
for the data package?
Yeah, if you use that.
Is that our expense or is that the expense of the,
It's our expense unless you're gonna charge them for it.
what about just basic Wi-Fi? No data package, just basic Wi-Fi?
Well, the Wi-Fi package requires data, buying the data. I mean, just for the ABL,
Yeah,
it's $75 per bus per month.
okay. So would
But
it
when
be,
you're on that bus and you pass some sections, you can pick up their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but it goes very fast. I mean,
Yeah, that's
it'll
not-
offer me Home
it
Depot
wouldn't be-
Wi-Fi, then
it
it'll
wouldn't
offer
be-
me a minute later,
it wouldn't be
Tinker
stable.
Outlet Wi-Fi or something.
And we do have Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi at the transit center,
yeah.
both transit centers.
Well, I don't think we're at a point where culturally in this area is needed as much as it might be some other areas. I'm just curious what that would cost.
Yeah, I mean,
But, yeah, the thing is,
yeah.
people on the bus with the phone, they're gonna have some kind of data plan.
They have their own,
Yeah, you're right, they have cell.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
You're not gonna get on a bus with a dead iPad and hope to find Wi-Fi.
they can connect to a cell tower.
Yeah.
The only way we could do it was come up with a plan through a cell tower or satellite, but, you know, why take on that expense when most riders are gonna have their own plan
when I'm
anyway?
out and I find Wi-Fi, I thrill to death, because that means it's gonna cost me less on my telephone.
Right.
But you pick up a lot of crap on there too. That could be dangerous to your phone.
Actually, I poor old kitty, I was fixing her computer and there's like 4 or 5 Wi-Fi connections in her house from her neighbors.
My neighbors, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't have that, but I've seen that.
But we did find a virus on that computer. It was the ransomware virus that basically the first thing it does is shuts off her password. And then it goes to lock on each and every file throughout the whole system.
And then it went $400.
Yeah, to get it unlocked.
When you ever beat it?
Yeah, Rowan, we just basically patched out another zip drive as the C drive, booted from there, and then reformatted the entire hard drive.
It works.
Yeah, that's what I want to
And
know.
Lou has a new computer.
Did
Oh,
about
you do
2
one over
hours.
your head there?
Oh, yeah. I have used a zip drive, and I don't know what I know is a zip
Well,
drive.
thumb drive, I mean, just a
oh,
thumb drive,
yeah.
no. No, but, 32 gig thumb drive, but
Yeah.
it took a couple hours to do it, but not $400 worth.
I used to use zip drives, they look like this.
Yeah.
So that's it for
Okay.
employee recognition.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, then it recognizes all of the employees, and
Yes.
we all kind of have to acknowledge this. These are like driving tanks without the protection of having a gun.
Yeah, there's no 50 millimeter on those things.
Right, not yet,
Which might be a good
Well,
thing.
that's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah,
not yet.
If you get a chance to take a look at the minutes, we can consider them accepted at the end of this meeting, if you like. Or we can just ask for a motion right now.
I so moved.
Second?
Any questions?
Well, I had brought up something to Brian on the cash requirements,
Now,
pages 8 and 8A and B.
let's do that in finance.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the meetings?
All right.
All right.
Those opposed, please say nay. All right, we'll consider them accepted. I like the idea of Nicholas Twig, citizen. Citizen of the earth, of the universe.
Right.
Did everybody get a chance to sign this? Yes.
I hope we see Nick come again. I did not know that anything was going on there.
Yeah, I
I
got
saw it was in the paper, but here again, I didn't know if it was his
He's
son.
got a daughter too, is he just have a
Nick's
son
son
and a
died,
daughter?
Nick's 40-year-old
Yeah.
son.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Nick's son.
some of you know I'm dealing with life-threatening illness of my 20-year-old and could easily be in that situation. And just don't.
Well, anyone could be in it, unfortunately, really, I mean, it's scary.
I can't believe the pain. You know, my mother, with 8 children, always said it's a crime and a sin to, have your children pass before you do.
Yes,
It is.
Fortunately, at age
yeah.
92,
no doubt about it.
yeah, safe
Well,
with
we
them.
find that nowadays with so much drug use.
That's what happens, yeah.
that So many, people are losing their
It's
children.
unfortunate.
Okay, we did not have a service at meeting, as I recall. Billie Jean, though, we would love to have you give a report of what you think occurred.
What would have occurred if we were here?
Please correct me.
Two public meetings were held, one in the Bucksport area
Spot on.
and the other was in Loris. And based on what we heard, it went well. There were agencies who were excited to hear that we are going to pilot a program in that area, hopefully beginning in mid-August.
Yeah, August 14th.
August 14th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. adult education, is looking forward to that.
Yeah, adult education, voc rehab,
Written,
South
written
Carolina-
resorts has been to all of our meetings.
one other one.
South
and-
Carolina works.
Yeah, South Carolina work, so the employment office, I got chastised for going in the unemployment office.
What is it called?
Well,
It's South Carolina Works, it's the Department of Workforce.
Oh, when did they
Employment and
change that?
Workforce.
That's like when they change personnel, I can never do.
Human services.
I still call it personnel.
I'll take that a step forward. Just having the occasion to talk with those folks on 4 different evenings. We've, Pam and I went and talked to Miller Mott, who's also one of their partners on the educational side, on the training side. And we're in the process of working a deal where they will do CDL training with passenger. We're going to figure out a way to loan them a bus in order to pull that off. But SC Works will pay for the scholarships for people to go to it. So it's sort of a another organic way to try to generate some drivers. So that's really good.
Right, something that came up that just nibbled away on sort of the edge of my consciousness, it had to do with the prison and the jail rather, and the jail giving out a bus pass just to Conway. And we sort of jokingly said, well, maybe Conway would pay for transfers in the thought that you want to move them a little bit further than Conway
Right.
itself. Is that just sort of harping, or is that something that's worth asking the conversation of Conway, or ought we to just provide a transfer? It's not going to be at any real loss to us.
I provide a transfer.
That's kind of what we're doing anyway, I think. But what we will do is talk to Jay Rubin about buying a $2 pass or a $1.75 pass. That-
Yeah, I think that's,
It gets them a little bit further down the road.
Farther than the Delta Hotel.
Well, it gets into Myrtle Beach, which is.
Right.
I don't see Michelle here, so it might be worth making a note to ask her to follow up
Okay.
with them on that.
Well, lots of passengers, and myself included, have given people the transfer money.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if you're on the bus at that point.
well, it would be good to either have us give them or Jay Rubin or
Yeah.
somebody just to acknowledge that this is a rural metro and metropolitan area all mixed up.
Plus, there's more facilities for them in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, they seem to wanna go
Stay
there.
overnight or whatever, I don't know if there's any place here for them.
Well, there's plenty of places when they're not supposed to be there, I'm sure.
Well, I don't mean the woods, I mean, housing for them, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I want to add one more thing about Loris route, Loris and Bucksport route. When that first came up, that workforce development grant, I was not that excited about it, and I'm still, I was worried about it. And the reason I was worried was, one, because of Kitty's concern about, that, we're taking people from Loris and we should be taking them from places more populated, more dense. And I understand, and I think everyone understands the difference between rural and urban money, and this money can't be used for anything but. And the other reason that I was not really in favor of it was that my worry is that it would fail, and that we would end up canceling it, which is what we did over and over for good reasons, for many years, yeah. I can bring you, if you want, a stack of no longer routes this high, that we've had over since the 80s. But now that we're in it, we really have to, this is an opportunity for us now. We have no choice but to really succeed at it. And I think there's a couple obstacles in our way, the main one being that these people in this area have never had bus routes before. It's going to be hard to get them on the bus. And our frequency is abominable, honestly. I mean, we're doing the best we can, I understand that.
Twice a day.
But yeah, it's very, very, it's going to be very hard for people to work that into their schedules. But somehow we have to give this every chance to succeed now. Because not only is it an extension of our service, which we need, but I think it's, it's a test for us.
Well, the difference now may be that we have partners. And,
Yeah, and
those partners have constituencies that we are serving, and it's every bit their responsibility to address that with their client population.
Yeah.
Isn't it, don't we have just a 1-year funding and.
18 months.
18 months.
18 months?
But this is a great opportunity for us. If we can do this in 18 months, I mean, we've got a lot going on. And, you know, I don't know what our plan is, you know, and I think we did these, I went to one of the meetings, I know other people did too. I think that the 4 people who presented at the meeting I was at did a fabulous job. And Michelle and Brian and Doug was there, John Glover was there, they did a great job. But we have to make sure that we continue the effort, because it's not gonna be a one-shot deal. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that you don't see an ad for Coca-Cola, you know. And they know that, you know, you're not gonna see one ad and buy a Coke, you're gonna buy it every day. But,
We don't want it to run like it did before, where a lot of people wanted to be on it, and then we ran 2 people a day.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
because
we have-
everybody wanted it, you know, everybody wanted it.
We have to do what we can do to make this succeed. And one of the things we did on the number 1 route, and I don't know if it was successful or not, was we made it free for a month, I think. I don't know if that's a plan.
What, please?
Made it
Number 1,
free.
the Conway route started, it was free for a month.
Hmm.
You could ride for free. So I don't know if that worked out, if it was a good idea, or if there's other good ideas. I mean, I'm not, I mean, Michelle, Brian, I don't know, other people have good ideas, Doug, I'm sure. But we've got to make this thing, we've got to give it every chance to succeed.
I didn't go to Loris, I went to Bucksport. Ryan made it very clear, pilot, we want to succeed, explained the limitations, the plan is to go forward. Mr. Phillips from the council was there. I talked to him, I think you did after the meeting too, and Ryan said, the goal is to find a way to continue this
Right.
if you all support it.
Right.
It was very clear, and there was an excitement in the room, but it was very clear of the expectation. But I talked to Mr. Phillips, I said, you know, and he was very positive about this.
Yeah.
He was excited about it.
What happens after the 18 months? Where do we get finances?
We're gonna try to, we have 18 months to try to find finance for it.
Hopefully where it can.
Well, hopefully,
But
you
it
know,
is in
and
the rural
hopefully
system.
it works out. I was not too happy about it in the beginning because I thought maybe we could go to North Myrtle Beach and get finance, but that's neither here nor there. The thing is, if it works out, maybe we can make that trip longer, come into Longs, you know, eventually, you know.
And I think if it works out, we can make a case for expansion, you know.
Yeah,
We've
what I mean,
succeeded with
expand it
expansion.
into Longs
Yeah.
and then, you know, into,
Yeah,
We're starting with
Little River,
Cutaway,
please.
right?
Actually, given the response, we'll probably start with bus. I mean, I have a couple responses to what Bernie brought up. We're working very hard to try to integrate these routes into our existing schedule, and that is gonna conserve budget over time. So our budget is one thing, it's based on our general stats and our system, you know, a per mile rate and a per hour rate.
I thought last month you said we were not gonna integrate it into our regular routes.
And I didn't mean it physically, I meant into our driver schedule.
Okay.
So there'll be a bus leaving very early in the morning to go up to Loris. It'll get here into Conway and go straight to Myrtle Beach. So it'll be a seamless transportation for the
Right.
folks in Loris. We are working on a way to make additional trips down to the Voc Rehab so that we can make connections even between Loris
Yeah.
and the Voc Rehab.
That's the Voc Rehab on 701?
Yeah, it's down here about 2 miles.
Yeah.
So those efforts are going to make this, I think, less expensive for us. I still see Coast RTA contributing to this. I think, you know, we've figured out a way, like the Loris trip will be early enough so that you can get to the beach by 8 o'clock. So it'll be early. And then the Bucksport one will be coming in and feeding that same route going there. So
Does Voc Rehab have their own transportation as well? Do they have vans that they move?
no, in fact, they've approached us about providing some trips between the Conway office and the Georgetown office.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the only way I'm gonna be able to do that is if I get
Yeah,
my
full
costs.
reimbursement.
And so we have a meeting with them, not next week, but following week, I think.
Ms. Lillie Jean?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I know you did a fabulous job in terms of the staff and presenting it to the public. But from a public point of view, I think they heard what they wanted to hear. that the bus will be stopping at certain spots
Mhm.
in Loris and Bucksport. So we need to do more in terms of selling the program. And when I think about the black community, the best places to sell it is through the church.
The churches, yeah.
It's funny that you would say that. This Saturday, we're meeting with, it's a conglomerate,
Yeah, the Kingston.
Kingston Lake,
thank you. It's just a huge conglomeration of churches up outside of Loris, I understand. And so we are doing that. We will schedule travel training. We're gonna bring a bus out to the Finkley Center, for instance, and down to Bucksport, so they can see what they're getting on. And give them scheduled times on when this thing's gonna be here. We are working diligently to get it on the app. I don't know that the app's,
You know,
it's gonna happen for day one, but it'll be soon after that.
having a bus for them to get on means so much, because if you have never ridden a bus, you're very leery about getting onto a bus that you don't know how to get on, you don't know how to put the money into whatever, and that's good. That's
So
good.
we'll do that. That's all between now and August 14th.
Brian, while you're at the meeting of Kingston Group, can you pick up another invocation for us for our next meeting? One that is more specifically targeted at this particular need.
Invocation.
You did
Or is
really
it
well.
some kind of way that we can give some kind of incentive for people riding the bus? For instance,
Well,
for instance, the first 100 rider get the ride free for a week.
a free T-shirt.
Free t-shirt.
Trinkets. Okay.
T-shirts are expensive.
We could look at some really, we've been so focused on getting the public information prepared, marketing incentives. You know, I thought about the fare free, but two issues with that. We've got to work the fares into the grant
Right.
invoicing, and two, they're gonna have to pay the fare when they get here anyway, because you know, so that's not gonna work. But we can, you know, we've got some of the employers helping us on that side of the house anyway. I mean, Britain buys passes for their employees, so some of them are already gonna have passes, but maybe we'll throw some
kids riding
$10 passes or something out there so they can get a few free trips and, you know, to the first 25 riders out at each location, maybe, something like that.
Do kids ride
Okay.
free?
Under 6.
Do we anticipate any of these folks bringing kids?
There's always
Possibly.
kids on the bus, you know, a couple of kids are dropping them off or something.
My kids, even though they're grown, love the little bus, the little foam bus.
Well, and we do have the Conan books.
Mhm.
What about students? Do they go at a different rate than adults?
They're
Yes.
125.
Yeah, they're 125, and then seniors are 75 cents.
and
Oh,
reinforce
it's
what,
cheaper for seniors.
reinforce what Louis Jean said about, not just now, but the future efforts, the
Keep-
role of the
keep going out
churches.
Yeah.
I go basically to an African-American church, there's 3 whites in the church. I was so impressed with the South Carolina Works presentation. I took his handout. The church, I commented, where I grew up, the church, we never talked about job, they read job announcements, Myrtle Beach, and I gave them that, and I told them some of the things South Carolina Work does for youth, 16 to 24. If you got a checkered pass, they will help pay to get your record cleaned up. I get, the Kingston Lake people in the 20, they called South Carolina, that's why they're on the agenda now. She called them to come talk. And that is how you get the word out,
Yeah.
out in the rural areas. And we need to
Yeah.
remember that down the road for any
Yeah.
other initiative.
And we need to sustain this effort for the.
Well, we also need to get something other than white faces interacting with these groups as well. I hate to say that, but if we're just all white people trying to sell this, it's not going to be anywhere near as effective as if we've got a blend. Be among our staff or drivers or anybody that, you know, you could encourage to be present and
We need a couple of Italians.
We've got Doug and John and Erica.
Yeah.
Doug and John were at the meeting,
Yeah.
Bucksport, and
Yeah.
actually, we picked up 2 of our workers, we were driving down there, it was on the corner, gave them a ride, and they came back to the meeting.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
But you're right, you're right.
How frequency is that service?
It's 3
Twice
days,
a day.
3 times a day.
Three
We're gonna
times
do
a day.
middays as well.
2 times a day.
3 times a day.
You
One in the
know-
morning, one in the midday, one in the evening,
Oh.
round trips.
Do you know, when we had bus service up to North Myrtle Beach, they only went up in the morning and down at night. They
Right, and
didn't-
the middays are only occurring during the week. They won't be on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, any other service PAC related
You
comments?
got a lot done for having not
I
had.
was
a
gonna say,
meeting.
was that enough? Wasn't that
Just
enough? Wasn't that enough?
continue dreaming a little bit?
Well, we also talked about the emergency management plan and our discussion with the school system and doing an MOU. What-
Yeah, that's, we actually met with Georgetown Emergency Management. And so, and we've had some additional conversations with Ori as well. But the Georgetown conversation centered around 2 things. One, using us as secondary assistance for evacuation. Their primary is the school system down there. But they are concerned about paratransit eligible type clients. And they're also they're struggling getting to the Waccamaw Neck, you know, Pawleys Islands and Litchfield and that type of thing. And so, so it's a little bit complicated, but Sam down there wanted to talk to Randy, who's the emergency manager up here, and work out some sort of deal where we could provide at least the paratransit side of the house down the Waccamaw Neck, go through Georgetown, come up 701, go to Pleasant Hill Elementary, which is where they have beds and medical services. So we could take both Ori evacuees as well as Georgetown evacuees.
Not
to
a
that.
small number of beds, what'd you say, 40 beds?
40 beds. And then we'd be able to get back to service because it's a lot easier to get back to the coast via 501 or 22 or wherever we need to go, and hopefully soon an international drive. Because they were having trouble once the vehicles leave the coast down there, they don't get back. And so Randy's on board with that, so we do have some MOUs that we need to work out.
What is MOU?
Memorandum of Understanding. But we need those documents because in light of FEMA requirements as a contractor for us to get our expenses, we need to have some sort of documentation that.
And are we hoping to
We
have
work this
them
out.
by this hurricane season that we are in?
I think we could pull that off if we had to. So, you know, hopefully we don't need to, but yeah, we would.
We've got 3 or 4 weeks it would have to be done.
Yeah, we would, well, I mean, even if we didn't have the MOU, I'd just try to help out. As far as Ori is concerned, we have slightly tweaked the evacuation for Zone A only evacuations, which is really the extreme coast. It's really storm surge issues more than that. And if they're only going to be evacuating Zone A, then we're going to be making our pickups on Ocean Boulevard as opposed to 17. But other than that, nothing's really changed. The county is processing our invoice, so hopefully we'll see that money eventually.
And I apologize for not making the meeting, but I did make it, but I was a day late.
The Bucksport meeting? Which meeting?
The
Service.
service meeting.
Oh, you're.
I got so many emails, cancel out and restart, cancel out, restart. And I came a day late.
Well, we'll set up
You
your
did,
email
right?
account so all of their emails go to junk except
I
for
will
that.
attest to that.
I had the opportunity this week to go to both Ivory's house and Kitty's house. I have to say, your trip was a lot shorter to go there than your trip was.
Yeah, I know, it's across the world.
That's a hike. Any other service PAC?
I guess you want mileage now, right?
Yeah.
Really is living on our farm.
Oh, yes.
That you
That he used
That
to.
used to be
You own that?
our farm.
That's beautiful property up there, geez.
In,
And it's, and
Really?
it's,
River, yeah.
yeah, and aside, the man next door built, he owns a restaurant in Calabash. Anyway, he bought this piece of ground, he put this big house up, he's got an elevator in it, he's got everything in it. In the backyard, I noticed he's watering. And I said, what is that thing back there? He said, a well. I said, you're not allowed to have wells. All the new homes, you know,
Yeah,
30
yeah.
years ago, they could have wells there, but we can't have wells because Little River is mafioso,
Yeah.
and they, you know, I just got a bill for $137 for
Mhm.
watering my new grass, right? But anyway, I I said, where'd you get that? He said, it was here. There used to be a big hole in that piece of ground and nobody wanted it because it was a big hole. He said that's, well, his father put it in
It's
1950.
wasn't that neat? Yeah.
So this guy has a well.
15?
For 50.
50?
1950.
1950, we bought that property.
All right. Any other service PAC?
1950, we bought 52 acres for $5,000.
Well, I would have been -1
What did
at
you
birth
plan on
at
it?
that
What
point,
did you
so.
plant on it?
We planted corn.
You ready for
Yep.
finance?
Finance.
Yeah.
Finance,
But
we
those
will,
trees
we will
are-
channel Marvin. We did have a finance committee meeting. He looked very cool and laid back, kind of
Sitting in Jamaica.
down in Jamaica, Mom. He looked, looked like he was ready to go smoke some dope.
You didn't tell him about that
I just
restaurant
realized you are
outside
on
the gate.
film, right?
That restaurant outside the gate with your building.
Yeah,
The pre-bid for
yeah,
contract.
exactly.
The pre-bid for time clock, for payroll services, is at the state getting reviewed. So, but it is, the RFP is developed, and as soon as we get there, go ahead, we'll release it and get moving on it.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
And it takes them all.
Okay, Ryan, are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'll do
finance?
finance.
Okay, and give one to where?
We,
Oh, I thought you had one. Oh, he gave me one.
I gave you one.
You gave me one, I gave it to Tyler.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is the
So hold off on that, I'll get to that letter that I just sent out. But,
Different cyber.
the monthly report, we went through the monthly report and I talked mostly about, I guess if you kind of go to page 5 of the report, there are really no issues from a budgetary perspective to warrant a budget revision at this point in time. That may change after July, I'm not sure. Remember, we made one late last year just to kind of clean up the income statement. And there's a lot of red on the income statement. I mean, the biggest hitters are fuel, vehicle maintenance, and overtime in transit. All because of, different issues, but overtime in transit is high primarily because we do have a driver shortage for the summer service, and we're just kind of fighting it through the summer until the entertainment shuttle comes off. But we are working on strategies, as I mentioned earlier, about finding new labor, additional labor. Vehicle maintenance, rough June and early July. I think it's kind of calmed down a little bit now that we have the new vehicles in service, and the old Richmond buses are slated for disposal. So we'll see how things play out on the maintenance side. We are looking at the possibility of trying to pull off at least one refurbishment, probably one of the Eldorados, which are the wrapped buses. One's Patriots Point, one's WonderWorks, into that maintenance program, and if so, we will probably do a budget revision. Other than that, we do need to make a couple of changes to this report before we post it. The most significant of which is the issue with the cash requirements. There is the cash balance at the beginning of the list. This is on page 8, the $203,338 appears on every page because it's part of the rows that are the header. So we'll fix that because that's very confusing. Thank you, Joe. It's 45 years of accounting prowess kicked in yesterday and let me know about that, so we'll fix that before we put it out. Other than that, it was, summer, June was running a little low on ridership, a little low on fare box recovery. I think fare box recovery was impacted by the large pass sales we had in May, so people are using those passes, hopefully. July ridership, I did a mid-month, and we were on pace for 66 to 68,000, which is pretty close to the 70,000 we had last year.
So even the 4th of July.
Even the 4th of July. So I think we're back on track. I've heard nothing but craziness on the entertainment shuttle in terms of ridership, and so we'll see if it bounces back.
What does that mean?
just that we have it's always full, that people are using it, and, so hopefully I mean, that was the main reason for the lower ridership in June, was the entertainment shuttle, so. I think that's everything on the, report, unless anybody wants some more, on the monthly report. But I do have a couple of other finance-related things to talk to you about.
Speaking of the report, no pressure, Ron, but at some point, I would hope that we transition the report over to you.
That's
to
fine.
present to this group.
Brian and I talked about
Good.
that,
I
so
think,
it's not
I
a
think you're
problem.
ready to step up, and Brian's got some other things to do as well.
It depends on me letting it go.
Well,
Run my.
I tend to editorialize, he may not like that so much, so
Nice to
we may
meet
have to have political
Is that
strategy
control?
talks before
I gotta work on his board management 101.
yeah, exactly. Also, how many Diet Cokes we're allowed to bring in.
You only brought one in for
One
this?
today,
or
oh
what
wow.
happened to the
Be a
other one?
short meeting today.
It's down here, it's in reserve here.
No.
All right, well,
So-
sometime over this year.
We did get the final triennial report yesterday, or earlier this week.
Right.
We have hard copies for those who'd like it.
I would.
So yeah, you can pass those around if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saving paper, Mr. Wilson. I did also pass out a letter that we've written to the county to sort of support their review of our, our operation. We talked about it at Finance Committee about, when does the county come in and review? Well, they came and they wanted a lot more information, and it's really just kind of going down our funding agreement. But I'm giving you guys this letter.
Oh, I have a
That's
question
this-
on this,
You have a question on?
this that you just handed out, on the
Okay.
charter bus.
Okay, hold off on
All
that
right,
just
okay.
real quick, and then we'll,
So were you now focusing on the letter to the county?
well, yeah, but if you have a question about the triennial?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
About,
go ahead.
about the charter bus. We had, is this when we had, we gave the county bus service and we didn't report it in time, is that what you're
This
saying?
reporting issue. What happened was,
There was no place to report it.
yeah, we didn't have any
Otherwise
place to
scheduled.
report it.
But are we gonna continue doing things like this?
Yeah,
Okay,
We still
so if we get money from Loris, we should be doing it for Loris too, not just the county.
well, if Loris wants to request something, yeah, we'll talk about it. We're not required to do it. It's just something
No,
that we
no.
try to do for our funders, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean.
But don't go out of our way to add another reporting requirement, though.
Well, no, I mean, that's just reporting it to the feds. I mean, some
I
of those
understand that.
instances, those special events, we don't have to report at all.
But
Because they're not big enough.
I don't understand how we're giving service to the county, who's giving us money, and not to other municipalities that are.
We
giving
serve
us
Myrtle
money.
Beach.
But yeah, we do
that
Myrtle
jazz
Beach ones all the
festival.
time.
Okay, all
I
right.
see to service, I thought you were talking about reporting.
No,
You're
no.
talking about special events?
Yes, yes.
Yes. We do them for Myrtle Beach all the time.
Okay, all right.
And we haven't done any recently with Georgetown, but there's a few that are possibly coming up.
Okay, all right.
So we
Well, that's
do
what
do
I'm
that.
saying, that we shouldn't be just, one-sided, we should
Yeah.
do it for whomever asks. Now, are the government parties that ask, it's not individuals that ask?
No, it has to come from
The government.
government
Yeah, all right.
entity, yes.
Just
Well, like
not-
your pilot club asked sometimes, didn't they, for the St. Patrick's Parade or something?
That's,
Or am I getting too mixed up?
no, we've been doing that for 16 years, but, and for Christmas, but that is it's more publicity. I don't know what you
Well,
call
I
it, it's
mean,
not
public
charter.
service.
I mean, North Myrtle Beach is a former funder,
Right.
and so, yeah, we do that. I mean, we do Christmas, we did Merle's Inlet, and we
Yeah,
did,
yeah, we do them all.
City of
Right.
Georgetown last
And you
year as
do
well.
Conway,
And Andrews.
oh, and Andrews.
So we try to get involved in
But they
those.
have to ask. Yeah, they don't.
Regarding the,
Oh, yeah, but I mean,
Solicit,
it's more of to let them know that we're here. I would think. That's why I'm doing it in North Myrtle Beach.
Right.
Well, it's
Because I want them to know that
community
we're
involvement.
here, you know?
It's community
Because we have a lot of
involvement
people,
for us.
when we stop, they try to get on it. They think it's a regular.
Well, we need to get our logos on those buses. We
Yes.
We have Waccamaw Regional, but nobody knows who that is, so.
That's right. They think that's
Um,
an outside agency that has come to town.
Right. Anything else on triennial?
Regarding this letter on number 3, it says plan rec number 6, install bus signs and shelters. I agree with the bus sign, but
Yeah,
we don't have any shelters right now. We've got.
We have a
rid of
few.
them, Right?
we have a few. No, I wanted to go over this letter with y'all because this letter, they've asked us about updates to the transportation development plan. And now granted, Courtney, who's the person who's our primary reviewer now, I wanted to give her some history on kind of what the development plans are and my conversations with the county council when I first got here about how those recommendations are still valid. So the bus signs and shelters was a recommendation from the 2010 plan. And so I wanted to make a point to them that we're starting on this with the shelters. Because way back in 2015, I told the county council that all of those recommendations still apply. They were still valid. And so this letter kind of struck me that we've actually made pretty good progress on the 2010 development plan.
Let me ask a question.
And-
She came to audit our books, or do what they do. The county comes here and there. And she said, and the reason that you wrote this is because she said, where are you in your development plan?
She went down item by item in the funding agreement.
Okay.
And so the funding agreement has the 2010 development plan. And we're supposed to let them know of any updates.
Okay.
The answer to that question is no, there haven't been any updates, but here's our progress on the recommendations in those reports.
So as she went through the funding agreement, were there other problems that she saw?
Well, there weren't, none of these are problems that we haven't gotten a reaction to this. So I don't know if there's any problems. So, but there's FMO, there's, was their 2017 budget, and there was a revision to the budget that I don't remember sending to the county, so they have it now. That was back in March. I told them the 2018 budget will be ready sometime this summer, and they'll get it after you all approve it. They have a summary of all our grants. Certification or insurance renews on August 1st, so they're getting an updated certificate next month. Things like that. So it's just, but the main point for giving you this letter is to see the these numbered items here, the movement that we've had on the transit development plan.
So do we need an update at some point? When do we
At
need
some
an
point.
update?
Well, the 2014 update is sitting out there, and I actually reread it this week, and it's mostly service expansion, in a Mongo van pool program,
Right.
which I think are valid, except for the size.
I don't know the word Mongo.
Mongo doesn't really fit our MO, but it's, there's some good ideas in there, but they require money.
Well, that van pool thing, that required like $6 million or something.
There's 2.2,
2.2 million.
but we could start one on a lower scale eventually. I think it makes a lot of sense for, some of these rural areas that we're serving. If we got 10 people going to Britain Resorts, for instance, from Loris, it'd be a lot more cost effective to put them in a van pool than it would be for bus service. So, but I thought it was a good read and
Yeah.
wanted you guys to see it.
It mostly made you feel good too, that we've made progress on
Yeah,
this.
that we've,
Did you
because
surprise-
there are recommendations I wrote.
Did you surprise yourself?
I did surprise myself. But they made some sense.
You didn't surprise me, though,
Good.
I guess we'll rehire them.
Next thing, July 18th, we got notice from FTA on bus and bus facilities dollars being made available. This grant program, there's about $226 million available nationwide. That is a pittance that will get spent many times over with the number of applications they get. But it's disappointing for me that if we had a shovel-ready maintenance facility project, it's tailor-made for this funding source. And you could fund it at 90%, which really sucks. But I would like to go ahead and go after 4 more new flyers with this. So we're gonna put in a grant application for 1.7 million, basically the same price point for what we got for the first 4. I think there's a couple of things that I really need to think about. The application's due on the 25th of August. 2 things. One, are they replacement vehicles or are they expansion vehicles? I think certainly today they would be replacement vehicles. But I think moving down the line, you know, we have the fleet to the point where we can make them expansion vehicles if money came available. And so I gotta figure out if we even wanna mention that in the application, because it doesn't, it may be that they have to be a replacement. I gotta reread this. Second thing is say we put in the application on the 25th, we might get awarded. I think the earliest that we could get an award would be in October timeframe, probably more likely December. So we got the award, we could go ahead and order the buses. So if we ordered them in December or January, let's say, it's probably gonna be the first couple months of 2020 before we'd see the buses. And so I'm a little bit concerned about the local match side of that, because I've got the local match in hand right now, but the way that agreement is worded, I have to, you know, anything I don't spend by June 30th of next year, I have to ask for again, basically, from the county. So I would need a letter from them saying, yeah, we'll preserve this for you. And I don't think that'll be too hard to get.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But you know, I think it's a good slug of money that we could go after. And
Since that 226 million, that's 2017 money. How do the feds total it? Their fiscal year ends also 37.
yeah, it's under 5339, and you have the year plus
Yeah,
3 to spend
Plus
it.
3.
It might be plus 5.
Is that
as
the
a
same
fast-
grant that's in trouble on the president's budget for 18 and out, that whole grant? That's the program that there's significant cuts in the out years.
I don't know.
I think so.
I'll ask.
Uh,
I mean, this was up part of FAST Act, so FTA is moving forward. Once it's obligated, Congress can't touch it.
That's back to the cap. 2 thoughts from old hat work for the government. Obligating money versus spending the money. You know what the county is, you got to spend it next year. There's a way to obligate it before spending it.
That's exactly what the letter would do for me.
Okay,
Would be
gotcha.
obligating it, so they'll preserve it
Gotcha.
until I need it, hopefully.
Okay.
And I believe the FAST Act is 2 years old, but it was a 6-year.
It's a 5-year plan, right? Yep. So it is, I think it's possible that, although unlikely, that Congress could go and affect FAST Act, and it's always possible. But I think there's enough support for it to not reopen that can of worms that I don't see it do anything with it, hopefully.
Well,
It's got about 2% growth in transit funds in general in it per year.
How about, what do we need to advance the intermodal center to the next stage?
Great question. Get the grant going. It hasn't been going, so I think we're kind of to the point where we probably have to re-procure it, which sucks. But I actually have a conversation with FTA later on this afternoon to talk about that, along with a number of other things. So I'll have an update for you guys on that in August at finance. So there hasn't been a whole lot of movement on budget, except that Ron and I are working on a cash flow analysis, sort of a year look. We're gonna basically model how FY17 went for our cash flow, see if there was any changes we could have made strategically to kind of soften the blow that we've been going through here this summer, and then kind of flip it to FY18 and make some changes. Really, the primary changes are how we're drawing down our grants, both from the state and feds. We may want to slow that down a little bit so that we have more horsepower at the end of the year. The problem with that is that, for instance, the state has talked about doing some augmentation on like our 5311, our rural grant. And I don't wanna slow down drawing it down and then have it augmented at the end and not be able to spend it all at the end. So it's,
We may have to do a couple
Well,
of scenarios is what
yeah,
that
well-
comes down to.
we'll have some strategery hopefully on
Yeah.
that, so.
So it could be a gamble from that standpoint.
And then last thing on finance committee is, we paid off the vehicle lease for the Department of Special Needs in July.
All right.
That's an old one.
Yeah. Really old.
Health and Human, I can never get that. It's not Department of Special Needs?
No, it's Health and Human Services, yeah, DHHS.
Yeah.
The other one is disability and special needs, DSN.
So I thought it was DSN. DHS.
HS, 2 H's.
Yeah.
I don't know how they ever got,
I'm not sure
how that evolved, that they were holding that debt.
I don't even
Very
wanna
strange. Yeah, it's what you-
Can you talk about that? I know a little bit
Oh.
about those DHHS buses that we sent back and paid for. It's before my time, but
Oh,
we've been paying them since I've been
because
here.
we were leasing them.
Yeah, we were leasing those.
And it was costing so much and,
There were pieces of
and they
junk.
were in bad condition.
And so how did we end up having to pay the whole lease?
Must have been a lease in
Well,
perpetuity.
Seemed like it.
We gave them back and we had to, I don't
Yeah, I
know,
remember that. That was
that
before my
was the
time.
CEO, handled that, I don't know
Yeah.
how, I
All
don't know
right,
how
well, it's
that
done. So it's a nice balance sheet.
Well, I think
for
they
us.
probably wanted us to keep them.
$30,000 a month.
A year.
A
Yeah,
year.
we were leasing.
One question, when do you plan to present the, like the draft of the budget at the August meeting or the finance meeting?
The August finance meeting.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll have everything for FY18 that day, and we'll focus on FY18.
We need to pass it.
And we'll try to send, yes, and I'll try to send it out early. So you guys can look at it before we get there.
Famous last words.
Who said that? No, that's not like you. That's out of character for you,
He's
Joe.
really, yes, he's really getting up since he left that chair up there. huh?
Getting sassy, isn't it?
More time to work on it.
Yeah, that's good.
So, that's it for finance.
How about,
I got general manager's report here. We can go to it.
how about in the budget, are you gonna, or earlier, how are you with mechanics, I should say? Are we still like in dire need of
We've
mechanics?
hired an apprentice, so we got extra hands back there. But we are, there's two things. One, we are working on a plan for our existing mechanics to get certified in certain things and paying them more as a result of getting those certifications. That includes air conditioning, that includes electrical. There's some Cummins training that we're gonna get since we have more Cummins engines in the fleet. So it's gonna be, the onus is gonna be on them that they get these certifications, and each certification will involve a bump. And so we're hoping that over time, that'll get our pay rates up to a point where if we do find someone out there who already has the certifications, we can pay them at $24 an hour instead of $21 an hour. And then, that will have an impact on our maintenance costs, but I'm hoping, with the influx of the new buses that, our parts demand will go down a little bit, so we should have, shouldn't be too big a hit on budget.
So Brian, if they receive the training, does that mean they would be required to stay with the agency X number of years? Or is that
Yeah,
part of the-
I think it depends on the training that we're talking about. If it's a significant expense for us to provide the training, then yeah, we might ask for a 10-year agreement. But at these wage rates, we're probably not talking more than a year. So, but yeah, we'll get them to stick around.
We're not the only one having trouble with mechanics.
No.
I talked to a couple of people, one in the Bay Area, they just raised their entry-level mechanic $35 an hour. But houses cost $800,000
Yeah,
too,
it's
so
a
it's all
bigger,
relative.
yeah,
But,
Well,
really.
one of my best friends is a part-time driver in a union shop up in Massachusetts, and he makes like 25
Part-time.
part-time. So, yeah, we're way off the mark on that, you know.
But we have lower taxes.
That's
we
right,
have
property
lower-
taxes.
We have a lower, yes.
It's not that much lower.
Yeah, well, I
Here?
don't think we're gonna have the
Well, if you're 65,
qualified
it
candidates
is.
that the
Yeah,
district
Yeah.
has.
Yeah, if you're 65, it is.
We don't have the
Yeah.
qualified candidates.
Well, yeah, man, and that's part of it. This is kind of stepping into my, general manager's report, but I was interviewed on Monday by the chamber they're doing, what do you call it? Just sort of
Myrtle
a.
Beach Chamber?
Yeah, Myrtle, like a plan for the future, like a, I'm trying to think
You're
of what
right.
they called it. Crap, I'm losing my mind. But they interviewed me on two fronts. One, as a citizen in Myrtle Beach, and two, as a community leader, their terms. And I made a huge point about a real problem I see in this region is labor and getting people to fill open jobs. And I said, it's true at my shop in terms of getting CDL drivers and mechanics. And I said, if you drive down 501, there's 10 billboards, people looking to hire, easily, if not more.
Yeah, well, you've got senior citizens here, they're no longer gonna work.
Right, and I mentioned that, it's like, we've got to think about some strategies as a region in order to figure out a way for employees to live here somehow and fill some of these jobs.
Right, I apologize, that was a hospital scheduling thing.
Yeah.
Who is this that you were talking to with this?
Myrtle Beach Chamber is doing a
Brad Dean and company?
yeah, they're setting new goals, I guess, for the region. And so she asked me how the chamber could help on that, and I didn't have an answer for her. But I said, we need whomever you're interviewing, all these community leaders, to get together and talk about
Well,
that, because I
compared to
think
10
that's.
year ago, we're getting younger people in here, because 10 years ago, there was
Right.
nothing for them,
Right,
you know.
right.
I know even where I live, there are younger people with children moving in where we weren't any children.
So hopefully that will manifest itself into a new labor
I
pool.
think
but-
that's gonna affect us, like the new announcement down at Georgetown Technical College, with the new welding center for some advanced skills.
Yeah,
Hoping to train a workforce, which I think long-term will siphon off some of the Boeing subcontract work up here, but that goes back, we've talked about, when may we need to extend our Georgetown service down a little bit farther to pick up, that is gonna be a big enterprise down there.
well, and it's a double-edged sword, I need more drivers in order to extend
And-
service.
and- yes.
So it's like,
And then you
it's,
need-
so, every day that weighs heavier and heavier on my mind. And obviously, talking to Miller Mott the other day, it was a first step in that direction, but it's something that, we need more heads in the room to kind of figure that out, because, even talking to Britain, they're out here, but, beating the bushes for people, and they're not really getting them. Even offering these, decent incentives.
$200 bonuses and free rides.
So it's, we'll see how that goes, but I think that's a good role for the chamber to kind of take on.
We need more trade.
How about our future
Training.
building? About a new facility?
We're working on a grant to get that moving, so it's on the list.
Good,
It's on the list.
good.
So a couple of other things in the GM's report. We have a quote for this first set of fixes on the transit center, and so we are working out the procurement issues. The quote was $5,000, and so we've got to get some bids, but we're gonna get that scheduled as soon as possible, and we're still working on the partitions in the bathroom, and we're gonna put door closers on the doors so that those doors stay closed.
It's a good idea.
And then we're going to put gutters on the outside around the CSR door because it's not handling water very well. We're putting treads on the porch, the steps, and the ramp. We're putting a transition plate for the front door. Still working on the mural. That we gotta figure out what's going on with that. And then we're replacing the water heater, because the water heater is supposed to have a box around it and it's too big, so we're going with a tankless water heater. in that. Well, it's gonna be mounted on the wall, but it's a really small little thing. Could
How
be-
much is that?
I'll let you know.
$1,600 someone told me?
Yeah, I don't think it's that much.
Really?
Well, it might be installed. I mean, I think the unit is less than
Oh, because I'm interested.
Less than 1,000.
I'm interested.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very small unit, so it's
Yeah,
not one that
yeah.
would go into a
Well,
house.
yeah. Oh, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. The FTA has awarded their task order to DEVA, which is the same FMO consultant that came and reviewed us, to help us work out the assessment for our indirect cost rate. Remember, they cut my allowable percentage down to 20%.
Right.
While doing my timesheet analysis, I think I'm closer to 60% billable. So they're gonna come and help us put the report together using this data
That's good.
to try to change that amount, so that will be good. New buses are all rolling. I do have one out there that's not getting any power to the destination sign, the 1503. That should be getting fixed today, because
All the
we have
signs
another
or
rep.
just the one in the rear?
All of them. So we just got a disconnection somewhere. New Flyer has asked that we give them a glamour shot of one of our buses to put in their calendar for next year. So
With the one with
we're
the
working
dent.
on that this week. Huh?
The one with the dent.
Yeah, we're gonna put the one with the dent out there. Not. But we are
We
gonna
are
try
not
to do
invisible.
we are gonna try to do a nice beachy glamour shot.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun, and I'll get you guys copies of that calendar when it comes out. We're having some issues with the app. They did an update not too long ago, and I'm not really fond of some of the changes they've made. Not getting into too much detail, but how you're selecting routes, there's no ability to put individual messages on the route like we used to have. And then we also need to get the Loris and Bucksport on there, so we've got some work to do with them on fixing those issues. And we've been working on public information and travel chaining sessions for Loris and Bucksport. We already talked about that. Task. We had a really good meeting with South Carolina DOT a couple weeks ago. And kind of set out a plan to work with them on getting a better message to the legislature on transit needs. I have another board meeting, a task board meeting next Thursday that I'll be going to talk about that. We are strategically going to go after the $50 million that the legislature took away from SCDOT, and so we're going to work on our approach on that with SCDOT coming up. But that was a really good conversation with them, and we got some good information on how SMTF the formulas works out, and the state mass transit funds, and so it was just a good conversation to have with Doug Freight and Johnny Manrique.
Brian, do you need a meeting of this board to approve the grant proposal that you're talking about putting in for 4 more buses? Or can we just?
I'll need that for when we put the grant in for
Well,
it.
that's what I was saying, but if we're not meeting as a full board in August, and it needs to go in by August 24th, you said?
Well, no, I don't need it with the grant application, I just need it for when they award it, so
Oh.
it'll be after that, so that's not a big deal. I do have copies of the project listing, it's been condensed a little bit and highlighted where there's changes.
Put numbers on it?
Numbers have been on it.
Thank you, Ron.
But I don't think there's really anything new beyond what I've already been talking about on here. We're still working on, we've got stop enunciation going in on all the buses. I know I said that last time, but we did have some integration issues with the new buses, so we're working on those because the new buses came with speakers. So we're tying into their system, so we're still working out those bugs.
What is the status of the RFP for the payroll?
That is at the state. We're waiting on their approval before we can release it, but as soon as we get it, it gets released and we'll do our pre-bid and get rolling on that. I don't think that payroll is gonna be a long procurement, because all of those companies that would be bidding on it already have their standard packages, so.
Yeah, but you're a small agency.
And we're a small agency,
So
so.
bidding levels.
Right, so I think that'll go pretty quickly once we get that on the street. I'll let you know as soon as it goes.
And the yellow on this means that it's changed from last time.
Change from last time. And I hid some rows just to kind of simplify it a little bit for, I think it was your request, wasn't it? Did you request that? After asking for the project listing and then you said it was too much?
Well, I think you did a great job, Ryan.
Contract and scope comments have been delivered back to AECom on the bus stop designation program. I had Henry look at their contract language. They gave us a standard contract, and so she cut it up pretty good. So that took a little while, but AECom has them, and the ball's in their court. But the fact that we have money in place for that contract now, we should be able to do notice to proceed sometime in August, unless there's some hiccups with the contract.
Brian, I don't see anything in the triennial under the ADA compliance that suggests that we're gonna need to put in sidewalks around the bus stops
Okay.
in the rural areas. Am I missing that?
Yeah, they didn't review that. I mean, that's not part of what they reviewed.
They would do that after the fact, after we got the bus stops in. They wouldn't give a proactive.
No, all we're doing is citing an actual federal reg that's out there. So I guess if we were to set a stop that didn't have the ADA in it, then yes, that could be a finding in the future.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't get there.
Let's let AECom worry about it.
Yeah, we'll let AECom worry about that.
Finding it out, have a sign out there, though.
Already mentioned the chamber interview. So the last thing on my list is the Piassics are going to the Outer Banks on August 5th. So I will be out of the office between
Big
the
enough
5th
for all
and
of us to come?
5th and the 10th. No.
See the little pony? See
And
that?
I'm endeavoring not to bring any work with me, but we'll see.
Go to
I'll
Oak.
probably be doing the grant.
Go to Oak Brook Island.
Which
see
town are
the
you on?
ponies.
We're gonna be in Redanti,
Oh, up top. Yeah.
so
That's
Be
where,
nice.
that's where the.
all the
film was
cousins will get to hang out.
You gotta,
Where the film was made.
Yes.
My mother and father and brother and sister and their families.
You gotta save some beds for us.
reporter.
You can come. You can come.
You know, one more thing on this is not a general manager report, but I would like to hear from Darrell
Oh, yes.
or next month, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to hear
Some impromptu
what happened.
remarks.
Can you do that? I'm gonna prepare, I will.
Okay,
It's on
Yeah,
the
we're
writing,
website,
like-
but still, it
Well,
probably
yeah.
should be in here
But
too.
this-
Well, then we won't meet until September.
Yeah, September's all right.
September.
Okay,
Right.
good. I've got done.
Yeah.
Was it was a good meeting.
What is it?
Was it worthwhile?
It was, I mean,
They're on
that
to the
was,
transit board meeting after.
But what did you go there to learn?
well, the main thing I learned, two things. One, I learned how little I know about transit. That was the main lesson. Talking to other people, I spent quite a bit of time with a guy from Savannah and also Jacksonville. You had said before, their linear.
Coastal, yeah.
Yeah.
And met two contacts from Comment, one of the ladies, and your group was knew you were on task. But triennial, I just read your email about, the guy, head of the triennial for FTA was giving a presentation. And that was it. He said, people get too hung up on findings. Only 5% of agencies get 0 findings. The average is like 8.5 findings. And he said, please don't start firing your CFO because you get a finding. And but he said, don't.
Especially before he starts talking.
But I'll jot the thought. I'll send it.
Well, that'll be good.
But it was for a newbie. It was good. The board composition of, they had this model board, and nobody in the room uses what they get away from a finance committee, the sort of.
Really?
Yeah, they had 3 other esoteric things.
Oh,
But
jeez.
I asked, I said, how many people? Nobody. But the main thing is a mixture of people who've been around a long time. 'Cause you
Look at the-
Pointing
Oh,
at-
but experience level, but also a fresh turnover, new addition. And I talked to the guy
Said you're the young beak down here.
and a varied backgrounds where we all come from. I was very pleased. I didn't learn anything new about committee structure.
Sort of
But
board.
the one thing is on there, they ask, how many people, you get all these finance reports, you got all these column pages after number, and your eyes go, and a lot of them, that's all we get. I said, well, ask them to give you some charts and some graphs.
There you go.
And we got both.
Yeah, we have
Really, I was
both.
very pleased with how that went. There was, picked up nothing new on that.
Hey, we're.
I'm glad you got to
we're up
go,
for
yeah.
I did, it was, and then I got a number of business cards, people to talk to.
Okay, managers report, anything else?
Well, Lynette, the first thing that came out of Lynette's mouth after she got back was she went to a Robert's Rules
Oh my
seminar,
gosh.
and we're way off.
Oh,
We're way off.
Trust me, you're gonna
She
be way
gave
off
us,
for
she
2
gave,
more
I think her
years.
exact words was F minus.
No, I did not say that.
The 11th edition is out now?
Yes, and I think we
I
have
like
the
how the
very
teacher
first one
laughed
that
at
ever
that
came
one.
out. Today, I am ordering
Are you
Robert's
ordering it
Rules
for all
11th
of us?
edition.
Do you
For all
have
of
to?
us?
I'm going to.
Let's
For all
go
of
to,
us,
Well,
right.
I'll
Let's
get
go.
one for a whole, the whole
let's go to
board.
the sixth.
Right.
And they will kick in when Daryl kicks in.
Yeah.
Because the one I have is from the 60s. And
Like
let's
Oh,
see.
yeah, we
So
probably
that-
got the first one that ever came out.
What's one thing we're doing wrong?
When someone makes a motion, I am supposed to record in the minutes who made the motion, not necessarily who seconds it, but instead of saying, I so move, you have to say, I second the motion,
Oh, Jesus.
because saying that is not, it's not a second really.
Yeah.
Well, who put the motion? Oh,
I would,
Yeah.
I mean, in
Like,
in
if
true
somebody
Robert's
makes
rules,
a
are we supposed
motion,
to approve the
you
agenda
have,
before
you
we
have
start?
to talk the motion?
No, not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily?
You have to talk, you have to say what the motion is that what you're saying?
No, the
Person
chairperson.
seconding has to say, I second, not that
Yes.
I so move.
Not I so move, you have to say,
Oh,
I
I thought
second
so
the
moved
motion.
started it.
We do that.
You have to say, I second the motion.
Oh,
Okay, good, let's learn, let's do it right.
yeah.
It was really
My idea of
interesting.
doing it right is I have the Robert's Rules book next to the bed. And when I really can't go to sleep, I will read it and then I'll go to sleep.
Is there any significant change in the executive session process? That's the one we could get in trouble. I'll pay
No,
attention to that.
we're doing
Big
executive
things,
session
you
the
have
way
to
we
give a
should.
reason.
We have to tell why
Yeah.
we're doing it,
And we do.
you know, not specifically, but,
Right.
Contract.
Legal matter,
personnel.
personnel
so we're
matter.
doing that
And
correctly.
then when you come out, we say no votes for.
Right.
So we're doing all that, no
Yes.
changes in that, okay.
And if somebody wants to speak to the group, they have to speak to the president first, and then he turns the floor over to
Oh, we
him.
got trouble with that one.
And I mean, it's just,
That's what
So
council
you're
does.
supposed to say,
but my,
Yeah, well, they
we're
have that little
doing,
light system where
we're doing
the
mostly,
chairman
you
gets a
know,
light. and
we're
he
doing
goes
pretty
in
good
and talks.
considering.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I like that.
We have a lot of millennials in our group,
really?
and all of us older ones were like, oh my God.
There was
I
138
can't
total.
imagine that they stick to the rules like the older people do.
No,
Okay,
They
any
make
other
their own rules.
questions
That's right.
for the manager?
That concludes the general manager.
Or our travelers? Thank you. Any other
Okay.
thoughts?
I
Yes, sir.
have one thing.
Would you like to address the group? I give you permission to address the group.
Very good.
Oh,
Get back
we're looking at the
to
budget.
wages for the mechanic. You know, looking at the amount of outside maintenance we have to do and how much it costs.
Okay.
And if we had the people qualified to do that type of work in-house, we could increase the mechanic's salary quite a bit.
We don't really do a lot of outside work. I mean, I don't know,
Just
what
put
do you
it in the
consider to be outside? You mean talking about sending a bus
Well,
out?
Well, what you got here in the report says, vehicle maintenance. Is that, is that outside work?
That's both, inside and
It's
outside.
mostly our own cost.
I could break that out and tell you what part of it is outside. That's less than
I know we used to done a
50,000.
lot of our buses
Oh,
out
yeah,
have work done.
it's-
Don't now.
Yeah.
That's because we
It's
didn't
about-
have qualified people,
It's,
right?
it's probably 10 to 20% of that 346,000.
Why don't we get a report on that at the next
It's
meeting?
outside work.
Yeah, we can split it out.
I think Ivory is saying there was a time when a lot of it was outside work and was paying
Yeah.
premium cost.
Yeah.
It may be now, if it's less than 10%.
Well, in being down in staff, you know, I've encouraged Tom that if he needs to get something done, to send it out, just because we had such a problem making pull out. But sending it out, from his perspective, yes, it's more expensive, but too, you're slave to their schedule.
Yeah, it takes
We
a long
can't get,
time.
because we don't send out that much work, we don't get any priority at, at some of these vendors. Now, we're trying to change that, like with the El Dorado refurbs, we're gonna send those to Cummins and let them do them. But we told them, if you're gonna do them, you gotta turn them around, we're not gonna send them over there for a month and a half. So I think it's a mix for us.
Well, let's find out. Let's
But I
not
can give you
speculate.
some more details.
It's about 35,000, I do have to break out detail for the year.
35,000.
35,000 for 9 months.
Because we don't send them
On
out to
almost
put motors in,
400,000.
we used to send them
Yeah.
out to put motors in.
Right, now, there are some things on the parts side that we send out, like alternators getting rebuilt or something like that. We send that out and get something rebuilt, but that's done on the inventory side. So it's not really as time sensitive. We replace an alternator, we send the old one to Little River Alternators and they fix it. So that, I guess,
Refurbish it.
That's not something we would ever do even.
Yeah,
we wouldn't do those in-house
And
anyway.
at 35, I could be wrong, but I think we had like at least one engine rebuild or something we sent out. So, I mean, one major rebuild is half of that the entire year. So, it could have been a single job or two that make up the bulk of that.
Well, I don't think we're asking for a revision of the Excel report, just a one-time report that tells us now what percent
Kinda how
is
things are
outside.
Yeah, kind of going up.
If it's,
If that's what you need.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we use
We
our,
usually do an engine replacement ourselves, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what we bought.
at this point, yeah.
if we used our Dallas spare engine,
Many times over.
yeah, that's what I,
We've used it at least 4 times.
Really?
A valid, did you say?
we,
Dallas
Dallas
is
spare
spare
engine. So we've taken it out, rebuilt the old one, put it back in, and
Right.
And 57, 58 still up on stilts.
Waiting on a transmission plug, a little electrical connection.
Okay, any other questions for Brian? Or any for the good of the order?
I think it indicates that I do spend some time back there figuring out what's going on.
All right, that's what we refer to as in the weeds.
That's good, that's good.
Okay, let's move on to the resolution to approve the bylaws. The biggest point that I'm gonna point out here is that after this is revised, and assuming it goes through, that Ms. Lily Jean becomes queen of the entire universe because she is in charge of service and tax. It will be a combined.
Right.
Queen of the universe, oh, that's
I know
good.
Kitty's feeling a little bit pushed off the throne, but we'll
That's all right, that's all right. I don't need responsibility, I got it at home. I'm living with a 90-year-old man.
who, by the way, I met the other day, he's very sweet. He has a nice
He tried to
handshake.
give you
Very,
orange juice.
very interesting dude.
Yes.
Well, he just said hello and went and ate his munchies or some cereal. He
He's
didn't
very
even.
low key. He
Yeah.
always says to everyone, oh, I know, I don't know the answer to that. He says, well, talk to my wife. She can talk 5 minutes on any subject, whether she knows about it or not.
All right, let's go ahead and read the resolution.
Did everyone receive the digital copy of the bylaws that I sent out by
Yes.
email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, there's a hard copy, the last section in your packet,
Right, I see
and if
it.
you want to take it with you, that's fine. Waccamaw Regional Transportation Authority, resolution number July 2017-16, acceptance of revised bylaws. A motion of the Board of the Waccamaw Regional Transportation Authority approving the revised bylaws as recommended by the Bylaws Committee.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
And now, what's your
You
wording?
can't do that.
Mr. Chairman, I second that.
No move now.
No movement. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Any comments?
My only comment, I'm glad we did that, it was due, and we did it when it was right.
And
Thanks,
thanks,
Kitty. for-
thanks, Kitty, and your committee.
Very
All
nice.
those in
I
favor
think-
of the resolution? We don't want to thank her till we pass it.
Wait a minute. Let me just say, I think that we should do this yearly. We haven't been doing it yearly, but I think we should put that in the minutes that we can do this yearly.
Take a look at it.
In the, I guess, around May or so, the spring.
Okay.
Annual bylaws review.
All right, all those in favor of the bylaw amendments? please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. They are unanimously changed. Do we have any old business? Ryan did a good job hitting most of the outstanding issues on the main interest report.
Thank you, sir.
I think where it would be surfacing. Ron, are you in while Brian is off luxuriating at the beach?
Yes, I will be in.
And are you the designated next stop person?
Yes.
I know where to find him, so yeah,
Okay.
if I have a
Is there any new business?
major question.
I just have a comment that I think that in the last year with these new buses and with the app and the transfer center, it's been a very big year for our riders. That's been a lot on Brian and his staff and members of the board as well. But I think it's been a big year.
I think there were a lot of deliverables that came in. There were a lot of projects that got completed.
I agree.
You know,
Thank you, sir.
We'll be scrapping some buses.
Yes. Some milk trucks, I like to call them.
do we get any more
You
steering
want a
wheels?
steering wheel?
Yeah, I want a steering
You
wheel.
have to leave the board to get a steering wheel.
No, that's too bad. All right, I don't want to do that yet.
But we'll save it.
All right. Do I have a motion to go into executive session to deal with personnel matters?
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
May I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I move to come out of executive session.
And I second the motion to come out of executive session.
Tell the camera no decisions were made.
Pardon?
We have to tell the camera that no votes were taken. no
Exactly
decisions were
right.
made.
No votes were taken, and the reason for coming into executive session was a personnel matter. All right. All those in favor of coming out of executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Okay. So we have two final issues to deal with. One is your contract renewal, compensation, and so forth. The other is just if you could give us a quick overview of how the raises were distributed in the agency. But at this point, I would entertain a motion from, why don't we take it from the head of the compensation committee to consider the contract renewal.
Yes, we need a motion to, on what decision was made in the executive session on the
So the motion is to increase Brian's base starting July 1 by 2.5%.
2.5% and $6,086
$6,086 as a bonus.
and
round number.
4-year extension, on your
Awesome.
And retroactive to
Contract.
July 1.
and approval of your 4-week.
4-week vacation.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Do I have a,
And 4 years, 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
4-year
Yeah.
extension, 4-year
Contract will go until-
extension.
do I have a motion to, or
That's the
a
one
second
that
to
we-
accept that motion?
I second that motion.
So the motion was made by Mr. Wilson and Bernie seconds it. Any discussion? So, your wife thanks you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I think by voting, give you an extension on your contract, you don't have to make a new contract. You have to
We'll just
make
do another addendum.
Another, and
Henry will take care of that. Yeah.
Okay,
And then with the increase in base.
yes.
All right, I think the board chair should deal with Henry, not you.
Okay.
Well, I got told Pam should call Henry and then
Staff, yeah.
and then have Pam contact me. We'll
Yeah.
get it signed. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, we were gonna have Pam in here, but she just stepped out to a funeral.
It should be
Okay.
Okay, we're glad you're here.
Yes.
We hope you view these as golden handcuffs.
didn't you say you had a question on the?
Just give us a quick overview of how you distributed across the board and merit and.
We for drivers and mechanics, we had basically, it was set dollar amount raises in cents, basically cents per hour based on basically 3% on average across the board. 1.5% was for cost of living and to cover the 0.5% increase in employee contribution to the benefit to the pension. Nobody got less than that. And so there was a few that got a little bit more than 3% based on merit. We also had several drivers who were behind schedule in terms of where they were in their labor rate or their wage rate related to having a CDL. So we had a couple who were, I think the average was between around 40 cents an hour was the average. That's the 3% basically. There was a couple in there that got 50 cents because they were off schedule with where they were with other CDL drivers. So we pay a little bit extra for CDL. Mechanics were all in that 3% range. We are giving them some sort of tool allowance, somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 to help them with tools.
Do mechanics bring their own tools?
Yeah, they all own their own tools.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so we're trying to help them with that. You know, they,
$200 will buy you a good hammer.
well, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's not gonna be exactly 200 if there's something in particular they need or that type of thing. We'll try to help them out with that so that they're not forking out their own money for that.
Do they schlep their tools in and out every day, or have they got lockers?
No, they have locked up toolboxes out there, but they're all there. And they have to buy the toolbox too, which is big bucks. And so then admin basically got 3% across the board, and then I have about a $22,000 bonus pool among those folks. And then there's about 10,000 in bonus pool for the salaried individuals in operations.
What did you end up doing for Ron, your second in command?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to do that in open here.
Okay.
But he was more on the bonus side than the percentage side, but at his request. And Tom Berta, for instance, was more on the percentage side than the bonus side for his request, so, but.
So they were able to provide their individual.
Yeah, and they, you know, given their years, both got more than 3% by far.
Well, what is our lowest range now on salary for our?
Drivers now start at $12.63.
That's the lowest,
That's the lowest.
12.63.
Yeah, and went up a little bit. It was $12 last year, so that's gone up considerably.
And the mag.
And then they get an extra 40 cents after 90 days if they have a CDL. So no CDL drivers are below $13.
And you
And
need
the
a
mag.
CDL for a long bus?
You need, yeah.
And how you say the max range is?
There are a couple drivers who are just over $16. There's like 6 of them that are over 16.
Those in the mechanic.
And the mechanics are 18 to 22.
Okay.
You guys are taking copious
Any other-
notes.
Any other questions? Generally, do people seem satisfied and pleased with their appraisal?
I haven't gotten a ton of feedback, but yes, in those State of the Coast meetings, I made it clear that it wasn't what I wanted to give everybody, it's what we could afford for the most part. I think they've taken that to heart. I also laid out the same stuff that I've given you all in the county in terms of what our budget scenario looks like for FY18. So hopefully I haven't, been transparent enough for them to understand, where we are at this point. I'm still very confident that we'll do better than close the budget in 18. Obviously we'll see here in the next 3 weeks.
So you get a copy of the salary range? As a revised?
I don't know that I have them written down anywhere, but maybe we can write them down.
Is this in line
Should
with
be getting a
the
copy of that.
other transit companies in South Carolina?
We are very much in the middle. We don't really compare very well to Charleston and Columbia because those are union shops. Because they have private management companies, those employees, those operators and mechanics are considered private sector, and they can unionize. So that drives up the cost considerably, and I can get comparisons, I don't have them at my fingertips.
Wilmington is also unionized.
Is it? Yeah, I haven't talked to them at all. We pay $3 an hour more than PDRTA.
Has anyone
For
tried to
drivers,
come in and
Drive,
union?
PDRTA is like nine
No one
fifty an
has
hour.
come in to try to put a union here?
Well, you can't, because it's public.
Like
We're a
Columbia,
right to work state.
Oh, that's right.
the public employees, if they're the private companies, you know, PIVA obviously went up quite a bit for us, 22%. When you're a private company, what is the?
I don't know if they're eligible for pension or not.
I'd say they're probably not.
Probably not.
So they may be paying less in benefits, so
It may be a wash.
it may be closer to a wash.
You know, given the wage level of these individuals though, that pension does not, even though I would think that it would be considered a wonderful benefit, it doesn't really translate to them that well because they don't see it.
It's like the people living on social
And
security.
it is, you know, if you think about 9% of $12.63 an hour, you know, that's a little bit of a dollar going towards pension. So that's a big cut.
But for our end of looking to the other end of that glass, I mean, it's big to us.
Well, it's huge,
Yeah.
huge cost. And we, you know, I gave folks an opportunity to ask questions about it. And I was like, look, that was a decision that was made here before we got here. You've got to think of it as being a plan for the future. You got to know.
That's what you have to think of.
You know,
What's
this
gonna
is,
happen
this
at
is
the end.
pretty awesome benefits, you know,
Yeah.
we're matching it more than $1 for $1. And that's only going up, it's gonna be $2 for $1.
And there's
You
very
know,
few-
you know, a
very few
lot of-
fixed pension systems
I know
anymore.
when
Right.
I went into, this is just on the side, when I went into the pension system, I didn't want to go into it when I first went to the state. My husband kept badgering me, oh, you want to get into it? Oh, I said, well, I'll take that money and this and that. But let me tell you, in the first year, or the first 6 months, I got all the money that I put in, and I've been in it since I, you know,
Really?
how many years now? My husband's been in it 31 years.
Yeah.
Through liabilities, your liabilities to the state and the church.
Well, it's not
So-
just this state, but any state, I mean, you have to think of what, you know, and when you're younger, you don't wanna think about that, because I didn't wanna think about it, but my husband was there saying, you gotta do this, because you need this pension.
Right.
And
Very
our
important.
employees are
Yeah.
paying, is it, I'm trying to look at my paycheck.
Just whatever.
It's like 45, they're paying $45 a month for health insurance.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Those are individual or family?
That's our
Oh,
individual.
I wish we could get health insurance.
So, I mean, that's a nice, I mean, it's not tremendous insurance, I mean, it's
But
okay,
it's something.
Better.
but that's really nice rate.
Would Pam have available data what our median age of our workforce is and the median numbers of years longevity?
Yeah, we actually get a report from PIVA.
I'm just curious how aged our workforce is.
We're
I
in
mean,
the high 50s.
That's, that's median, not mean, right?
I would say that's average. You want to know median.
Median.
So you want
I
to
don't think the
know,
median's gonna have
What
much
age,
difference
what
in
age are you,
Ooh,
what
that's
age
How
do
many
you
people are
become when
being
you're
used?
not really that quick at driving a bus?
depends on the individual. Some are, you know, I have 2 drivers I'm thinking of that are basically in the same boat, you know, in terms of slowing down a little bit, you know, they're still fine, but one is 68 and one is 74.
Yeah, I met him out there at the cookout.
You know, so it's not,
Have
That's a
them
terrible
drive 5 miles an
responsibility.
hour slower.
That's a terrible responsibility. Do you pay more insurance? Because I know I pay a lot more insurance on my husband because of his age.
no, because it's all pooled, you know, even our fleet changes and it doesn't change the premiums too much. I think our comprehensive will go up a little bit with the new buses, but
The 4 new buses, it went up $1,000
is that right total? Per month or per year?
per year.
Per year, so it's minimal.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's all public insurance,
That's
so.
pretty good. That's
Yeah,
good.
We've been, you know, it's actually, I think we're in pretty good shape from that perspective, we'll see.
So your 2 drivers who wanted to slow down, you could tell them they could drive 5 miles an hour slowly, but they still have to work.
No, I just, I just see them as being very similar in terms of how far away they are from needing to get out from behind the wheel. And they're different ages, I mean, decidedly different ages. And, you know, we have
Well,
one
there's some-
driver who's
there's some-
78 that is
Mhm.
10 times better driver than,
Well, my husband at 90 is a better driver
Yeah.
than I am.
yeah, it's Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
But you have a.
And that guy's in better shape than I'll ever be in.
There's an age limit on drivers,
I don't think there is.
80, I
No.
believe it is.
Is it? I'll have to look that up because you know, that is a scary proposition for me in terms of trying to tell somebody, look,
Well, that's when the,
You can't
that's
drive for
I
us.
believe,
when the insurance goes up too.
I believe it's 80
For a public,
Probably
for,
something
to
they should
have a
look at.
CDL.
for public drive.
I'm writing it
Yeah,
down.
because if they have an accident or something,
Yeah,
you go.
It seems
exactly.
like as long as they can pass the
Check with the
SCDOT
state.
physical.
Yeah, I don't want to get into an age discrimination lawsuit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know.
But I also don't want somebody out there who's not qualified to drive.
People is driving for,
You got 24.
council on agent, 80 is, isn't it?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I
that's-
don't know, we might fall into the same category.
You got some
that's my opinion.
25-year-olds that shouldn't be out there driving.
True
Yeah, I
that.
know.
Into that.
True that.
All right, have we have, any other any other questions for Brian? Nope. Can I have a, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second motion to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?